is the Conservative Colonel Podcast with Harrison Dawes, where one man stands against the rising tide of liberalism. This officer in the battle to preserve our nation is the Conservative Colonel.
Nothing ends here. Our hopes and our journeys continue.
And here's Harrison Dawes.
Welcome back to the Conservative Colonel Podcast. I'm your host, Harrison Dawes, joined by Graves Baker. And you probably thought this show had died, didn't y'all? I will apologize to everybody. My summers are usually always hectic, and Graves has had a hectic schedule as well, so he hasn't been able to fill in.
Yeah.
So it's. I promise you, we will not continue with the 2 months episodes. Our 2 episodes a month, or heck, poor May only got 1 episode a month. I love how I titled the last episode, "We're back and we're fired up," and I got pissed at death with that whole episode. But we are back, hopefully for good now. Again, I do apologize. Hoping that my schedule will change around August, and it'll be a lot easier to record episodes after that point. But yeah, we're back. We're back, and there's a crap ton of news to cover. It's going to be a while till we can cover all of it, because this episode's going to be a bit short, and the next 2 episodes are in celebration of the 50th episode. So it's going to be an interesting time. But
This is a good week for me to come back with all that's happened over the last weekend.
Oh my God, it's crazy. And it's going to cause some hot button topics today, and I can't wait to get into them. But we'll start off first with some interesting, and this is the first episode, by the way, that we don't have a script written for. I normally have a script of stories that I would like to talk about, but because of how quick this episode has come together for me and Graves' schedule, I haven't even changed out of my work clothes if you're watching the video format of the show.
And you still can't see me.
Yeah, Graves' camera just does not want to grace us with his presence. Not at all. He's like one of those faceless liberals on the internet that only talks when they
I'm wearing
can't.
a mask.
Wearing a mask. Grace has been driving around Mississippi with a mask on, even in his car with no one there.
Yep.
To make sure he never gets sick. But so let's start off with Mississippi, and hopefully we won't jump around too much. But Mississippi has an interesting thing happening. 2 years before the governor's election, we have a potential 3 people who have already announced run. And I do say potential because there's only one person who's officially announced he's running. Of course, the 2 unofficial people that have, like I could put money that they're going to run for governor, is, of course, Shade White, our state auditor. He has made it clear that even though he hasn't announced yet, he's eyeing up the governor's mansion. He wants it, and I think he's going to announce soon. The other one, who is announced at a very quiet banquet and has not made any major public news announcement, he is only announced, as I said, at a fundraising gala for himself. Shocker. Is the king of the Democrats here in Mississippi, Delbert Hosemann. I like calling him King Delbert because that's how he acts like. He acts like he's the monarch here. So, yeah, we have those 2 who have not officially announced, but they have heavily implied that they are.
Mm-hmm.
Shade has said that someone is going to have to challenge Delbert in 27, and how, I think I would make a great governor. Again, not saying he's running for
He's
it yet.
already challenged him a lot and done well just in the current role that he's in.
Oh, yeah, he's done phenomenal this year as state auditor, and has really tried to come out of his own this year, which is great. I feel like he was trying to get a lay of the things, and I think he's one of the few Republicans that when he saw the Trump mandate, I'm going to call it, he actually decided to follow it. I won't say obviously I won't say he's been a conservative leader his whole time in office, but at least the past year, it seems like he's actually followed the mandate at least, and has actually tried to fight to cut the spending down here in Mississippi, and to cut waste here in Mississippi, and to fight corruption, because sure as enough, Delbert didn't like it.
No, he didn't.
Has tried twice now to strip the state auditor of his powers. It's just great. Oh, and like one time, what was it? Like he had to get the state's permission to investigate the state, which is just glorious. But we all know that Delbert runs the Mississippi government. Mississippi's weird for people who don't, or for our listeners that don't know. Our lieutenant governor is by far the most powerful position in Mississippi, and we'll actually talk about that in a bit. And so Delbert has successfully turned us purple under his administration, and that was before his second term. So who knows how things are going to go the next 2 years, but hopefully it ends with Delbert needing to find a new retirement home to stay at, because the man is older than my grandfather.
He did just pass out recently.
Oh,
while he was presiding over the Senate.
Well, that was because he was dehydrated.
They say.
Well, you can tell what type of people we are on this show. I don't trust that worth of. I would rather trust a fart in church than trust that source.
I believe it just as much as I believe LA is peaceful right now.
And that is a sneak peek at what we're talking about in a bit. But the big news to kind of come out of Mississippi this weekend, and it has honestly kind of split me a bit, is our agriculture commissioner, Andy Gibson, announcing that he is going to be running for governor. And in doing so is the first official announcement for our governor race in 2027. As I said before, Shade and Delbert have hinted at it, implied it, but neither have made an official announcement. And it's even more interesting that none of them have made an announcement as of now, as of the time of recording this episode, Thursday, June 12th at 5:27 p.m. They've stayed quiet. We have not heard from them too. And that is interesting. I'm sure Shade is thinking, where I hope he's thinking, is Andy is very popular here in Mississippi. I think there be very few people that could beat the rhino powerhouse that is Delbert. Because as you know, our Graves might not know, but for our viewers in Mississippi, they know just how powerful the rhinos are here in Mississippi. And how much money they put into derailing actual conservatives. They put millions of dollars in it, and last election cycle didn't really go our way for the true conservatives here in Mississippi. And so I am very interested. I'm a farmer, as some of you know, and so my commissioner of agriculture running for governor is a shock, but almost a welcome one, if that makes sense. I'm still going to do my research on Andy. I haven't done that yet. We'll probably do an episode closer to the election on the men running for governor. But I will say this. He has done a great job. As he was much better than our previous commissioner of agriculture, current senator, Sidney Hyde-Smith. Yeah, why she was our commissioner.
Representative.
Yeah. I don't.
But here's the thing. Even living under her representation, I don't hear about anything she's doing. You know,
the only good thing I've heard since she's gone into office, and that this is not a brag on Sydney Hyde-Smith. I'm not a Sydney Hyde-Smith fan, but the only good thing she has done is she's tried to get more funding for the Vicksburg National Park here in
I like
Mississippi.
that.
And I like that. I'm a big history nerd. I'm a big historical preservation guy. I feel like our museums that are telling true history are extremely underfunded.
We've got some cool museums too.
And we do. It seems like we all send all our money for education to the public schools that don't deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that next week. But, that is, I will brag about that because she has recently, and I mean recently, been fighting for museums out of nowhere in Mississippi. I don't know where this came from. I don't know where she got this historic streak, but there it is. But she was not a good commissioner of agriculture. And Mississippi's kind of hard to mess up in the agriculture department. That's our number one industry. And it's not like there was a big dip or anything, but you could see. Let me put it like this: she didn't really do much, and you could see she was playing a cowgirl for the cameras.
Right.
And in Mississippi, there's nothing that pisses us off more than a fake farmer or a fake cowboy, cowgirl. It just really rubs us the wrong way.
I'm from a small town, and in no way would I consider myself, as being a cowboy or, acting like just because I have some land that I'm a farmer, you could call me a city slicker, and you're probably right.
Harrison Dawes for Commissioner of Agriculture 2027.
I'll help.
Thank you. But he is extremely popular in Mississippi. He has grown our agriculture industry again to his. It's still the number one industry in Mississippi, and he's grown it even further. He's done a lot of things for farmers, and that's why I think Andy throwing his hat in the ring is such an interesting thing because the hardcore people here in this state are going to back him.
Mm-hmm.
Delbert might have the money, but Andy is going to have the heart of Mississippi, and that is our agriculture industry. So it's going to be interesting to see if Shade doesn't run for governor, it will be a corrupt big business versus farms in the governor's election in Mississippi. So we'll see who wins that. As of now,
it's good that Andy, he announced so early. Nobody else, even the guys that we know are going to run or are thinking about running, he's getting that head start. And for someone who hasn't been the lieutenant governor, hasn't been the president of the Senate or anything, for him to get out early is extremely important. And he's probably already going to start campaigning if he didn't before he announced.
I noticed he's had an uptake and posting on socials, and he posted a couple days before his announcement, about donations to him, to a future campaign. And to me, someone who's involved in Mississippi politics, I've noticed a lot of politicians will act like they're about to rerun for their current seat, but they'll never state it. If you see someone make a post and it's very vague about running for political office and needing donations, they're about to announce something huge. They're just thinking it over.
Mm-hmm.
And so it seems that Andy has made his decision. He'll run for governor. And we will need a new commissioner of agriculture, which I will be heavily watching that seat. And I mean heavily. Simply because that is a very important seat here in Mississippi, even though the state government tries to strip it of some of its powers on a constant basis. But, of course, with that being the number one industry in Mississippi, very important and on who gets that role. I hope we don't get another just politician looking to become famous off the backbone of the farmers. I hope we get an actual farmer or at least an actual person that's in agriculture to run like Andy was.
Mm-hmm.
But
one thing you don't want to do is make the farmers in Mississippi mad because they will, do whatever it takes for you to give them what they need.
And I'm just shocked by the fact that Delbert hasn't announced yet. Because, I mean, it's almost foregone conclusion that Delbert and Shea are going to announce. Shea doesn't necessarily need to announce now. It'd probably be smart. But he doesn't have to. Delbert's almost like he needs to announce because he's lieutenant governor. For the past couple of decades, if I'm not mistaken, the lieutenant governor has won the governor's mansion after finishing his 2 terms.
Tate was.
Tate was, Phil Bryant was. I'm drawing a blank on the guy before Phil Bryant, but I'm pretty sure he did the same thing. So you have 2 to 3 governors, which is 16 years, if I dumb it down to 2, that have ascended that seat after being lieutenant. Again, this is why this is interesting to me, because what is going to happen? Now, I know who I definitely don't want to win is Delbert. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be the biggest fight we've seen for the governor's mansion in a while here in Mississippi, because there's actually a chance for someone to run Democrat and probably win it, because there's going to be a major split in the Republican Party over this. Even though Delbert's a Democrat, he's on the Republican ticket, so he still takes up space against us.
Yep.
Now, do I think a Democrat's going to win? 70-30. I'm thinking it's becoming a higher possibility in Mississippi if we don't change how we get out there as the Republican Party and follow our actual platform. That would be nice. But this is going to be an interesting one. As I said, it's very strange for someone to announce 2 years before the election that he's running. I know Trump, we all knew he was going to run, but Trump didn't announce till what? Maybe a year out? Year and a half?
Yeah, it was about a year, about, a little less than a year and a half.
Yeah, so for it to be not 2 years and some change, it's crazy that Andy's announced so quick, and that should tell you all you need to know about Andy's confidence going into this. If I was Delbert, I would be reconsidering. If I was Shade, I would be looking and eyeing that lieutenant governor seat.
Yeah, I'd like him there.
Yeah, he'd be great there because Mississippi is in desperate need of a new conservative leader, because the top conservatives in Mississippi are rhinos. We really don't have a solid person, and that goes for both sides of the conservative movement. If you've listened to the show before, I've described it as a Washington conservative, which is what Graves is, and a Jeffersonian conservative is what I am. It's funny, we really don't have representation on both our sides of the argument.
Yeah.
Graves at least has some candidates. I got nothing. I ain't got jack crap. The guy that was kind of our spokesperson on my side was Chris McDaniel. If you haven't heard of Chris McDaniel, if you're not one of our listeners from Mississippi, just research him. You'll see that he's called every dirty word in the book by Republicans and Democrats. So that should let you know how good he was at his job. Big person. Actually, this whole thing got started working under his campaign for lieutenant governor. The Conservative Colonel podcast Facebook page, go look at the first name for it. It's Wayne County for Chris McDaniel. And it was actually under his advice and Jack's advice from the Right Side Radio that we even started this show. So obviously I'm a huge Chris McDaniel supporter. But Mississippi really hasn't stepped up with a new leader to fill either of our sides' roles. We're just dominated by rhinos.
I will say, I want one thing from the next governor, and Delbert won't do this. But for all the stuff you can say about Tate Reeves, Mississippi is on the up and up right now. I mean, the amount of investments from businesses that we're getting, we went from one of the worst in education to now ranking number 16 in the country. And then you got the fact that Mississippi's the number 10 sought after state to move to now. So we're booming, maybe not at the level that we don't really have big cities, with a high population. But I think we had the highest GDP growth in the whole country as
we're like
well.
number 2 or 3. Like, I've been reading that, and I wanted to talk about it. I was like, think of the possibilities if we actually had conservative leadership.
Yeah.
This is what we've done off the seat of our pants with a few people working their tail off.
That's true.
Imagine if we can get our whole Senate, House, and governorship under control and get some stuff done. Because I'm not the biggest Tate Reeves guy. He's done a lot more to piss me off than make me happy. But we have grown as a state. That good stuff that he's done has been successful. And I asked Mississippi to think what would happen if we actually had someone in that office that wanted that role. I think it'd be a great asset. And I could see Mississippi grow without falling into corruption. Because that's the thing, Washington conservatives are great at growing business and great at growing entrepreneurship. And something I think my side is really good at is making sure that doesn't corrupt us, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I don't want Mississippi to be like Virginia. I don't want Mississippi to turn into Georgia. I don't want Mississippi to turn into New York or California, or heck, even places like Texas is getting sketchy. But if we actually, and we can in Mississippi, because we do have a lot of Jeffersonian beliefs here, if we mix the two, my gosh, we'd enter in the most promising time in Mississippi's history.
Yeah.
It would be phenomenal. I really hope we have it. But it all depends on who the next governor and lieutenant governor is, because they can get the ball rolling. Maybe not get everything passed that we need to, because we'll need to get the Senate under control and the House fully. But we could at least get the ball rolling in the first direction. And then the next election, with those two leaders rerunning, and we have hopefully a new crop of senators and representatives coming up, imagine the possibilities. I just cannot wait for it. I hope we don't do the same thing we did this last election cycle.
Where in your county, you're saying that you don't really have any true Republican leadership left.
Nope. Not
and
at
you know
all.
what's weird is that my county is right. We border on the Delta. Part of our county is technically the Delta, and we're still red. The Delta is where it goes blue, and we border it, but yet, it's just weird to me that happened in your county versus ours.
Well, I think it's a continuous case of not having any true Republicans. You look, my county's still very red, but it doesn't act like it's red. And I think the same can be said about the Mississippi government as a whole. There are some areas like yours that's pretty blessed with conservative leadership, and there's some areas like mine that has Republican leadership, I'm going to call them. That's just the nature of the beast right now here in Mississippi. And that's one thing Trump will be able to add to his legacy 100%, that no one will ever be able to take care of him or take away from him. People are actually able to see just how bad our party, and I'm talking about as a Republican, has fallen out of actually having conservative leadership. It was eye-opening. Because you think about before Trump, there's people that we didn't like and they weren't really good leaders. But then, like, you open up and you're like, holy crap, Trump is fighting for his life and he's got like 2 people.
He did.
So it's very interesting. And I think that will be Trump's legacy. And now we just need someone that can inspire that change on the political level. Again, we said this when Trump got elected. He can't do it himself. He's fighting for his life just to get the stuff passed that he has passed, and some of the things he's done needs to be everlasting change.
Mm-hmm.
But we both know how the presidency works. A lot of the stuff Trump did, if we don't improve ourselves to help him, he'll be washed away by the next president. That's why we have to get the Senates and the Houses under control of real conservative leadership. Quit voting for the same guy that's been in that office since 1950.
Please.
Please stop. You're killing me here. And I mean, Mississippi's no better. Trust me, we're not. I can't point to one representative on the national level from Mississippi that I would be like, okay, he's got it. There's like only a handful that are actually pointing out stuff in the Congress. There's probably like, what would you say, Graves? About like maybe 5 or 6. And I'm being generous almost, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, you got people. I hadn't even seen Jim Jordan lately. What's going on with him, though? That's.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But there is a couple of people. It's just not a lot. I mean, that's why Congress itself has like a 20. No, it's probably less than 20% approval rating.
Yeah, I believe that. And the funny thing is, for me anyway, I got like 2 Jeffersonian conservatives up there out of both houses.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I just beat my head against it. And me and you talked about, I think at the beginning, poor DeSantis and Trump, the little feud they have going. And Deg Nabbit, if Trump didn't start picking a feud with my 2 conservatives, Jeffersonians, I was like, Trump, please don't. That's all I have, man. Please don't. But it's politics. It's a crazy thing. But hopefully Mississippi can wake up. Well, again, we'll talk about this more in depth in an episode. I just wanted to keep everybody informed on what was happening because this is a bit shorter of an episode. It's kind of off the cuff. You can tell, hopefully you can tell that me and Graves are kind of just speaking from the heart on topics and not really diving into them.
Yeah, like the whole, I know who Andy Gibson is, but like you said, we have to do more research on who, what has he done in his time. I mean, you kind of know more as a farmer,
Right.
But there are ways you can see like how far to the right or left that people are. And I'm going to look into those types of things. But I feel like if he's been helping the farmers and he's one of those types of people, that he's got good intentions and is going to actually help the regular people of the state that need it.
I have faith that he will. The funny thing is he actually, I think, made a rare political misstep this year and pissed off a lot of farmers, which was rare for Andy. It almost came out of nowhere. Like someone was like sent me it felt like it was a Babylonian Bee article, and I was like, "Oh, this can't be right." And I can't remember if we talked about it on the show, but Andy kind of went with some big business on something. And I was like, Andy, you're killing us. But, I mean, every politician's going to have a misstep. We've talked about it on the show. There are politicians me and you probably love to death that we've sat back at times and been like, why?
I've done that with Trump before. I mean,
I have done that with Trump a good bit, but it never affected. And I think that's something we need to get back to. It never affected my support of him.
You don't have to agree with someone 100%.
As I said, Graves is a Washington conservative, and I'm a Jeffersonian. Now, some of you people might not know what these terms mean. We'll talk about that at a later date and kind of dive into it because I will spend a lot of the show talking about Jeffersonian views because that's my stance. But I also want to dive in because we kind of made up the term Washington conservative. So I do want to explain it. But, there's stuff that me and Graves don't agree on. And me and Graves still come on, hopefully once a week. Let me knock on some wood. And talk about it. And me and him might have a big disagreement in the middle of the show, and I guarantee you after the show, me and Graves will talk 10, 15, 20 minutes about anything else other than politics. One time we talked about how Ole Miss keeps blowing leads and pissing us off.
Yes, a lot. It happens all the time.
It's a part of our nature, I feel like, as Ole Miss rebels, is to have Ole Miss do good just to screw up.
Yeah.
But we do need to get back to that because it is just much needed, especially in the Republican Party, where there's three sides right now. We need to eliminate one of them. I'll let y'all guess which one that is. But we need to get back to it. Again, I still voted for Trump knowing I was going to disagree with him on some stuff. I actually have a hot button topic that we're about to talk about in a bit that I don't know precisely if the president has the power to do so, but he's doing it. So it's very interesting, and I think we need to get back to that. But let's we're not doing any commercial breaks. I'm going to make this episode commercial free. Screw it. I've made $2 and I've spent it on a Thomas Jefferson $2 bill.
That's
to
kind of
frame.
cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I mean, from my viewpoint, he's the president that came up with the Jeffersonian conservative, and we had a real golden era under his leadership. And I think the next two presidents before Jeffersonian conservatives haven't done anything since. It's crazy how quickly we went into the political underworld.
Yeah.
God bless us. But yeah, so that's what I've spent the money on the show on. We made $2, maybe $5, and I bought myself a Reese's and got the $2 bill. And I don't even have anything to frame it with. It's just sitting at my house. It's not even in my office. I need to move it over here. But let's talk about the kind of big topic of the week, the LA riots.
Well, I want to say this about and this in a way has to do with LA riots because it's liberals, right? So I saw a diagram today, and and it had like the viewpoints of the right versus the left, and the left, it was just like this tiny little octagon circle with a couple of lines coming out. The right, it was like this big circle and more lines coming out, and it just literally showed it by a long shot that the right has more open-minded thinking for yourself than the left. And it was just funny to see that proven because they say they're more educated, and they think they're more educated while they're sitting here burning cars and looting civilians' businesses, or even an immigrant's business. I saw a legal immigrant from India who owned a jewelry store got looted in LA.
Gotta love LA.
When you resort to violence instead of being able to debate and all this stuff, it proves that you're not as smart as you think you are.
Yeah, and people make fun of the right because we have so many vast viewpoints. You'll notice if you get a room full of Republicans in the room and dive into some hot button topics, you'll get about 3 or 4 different answers.
Yeah.
That is a blessing and a curse for us because we are a big free thought, but we're not a machine like the Democratic Party. But I'll take being independent and free over being part of a machine and one thought any day of the week.
Same.
But you also can tell, even though they're so much on the same page as a party, there's just chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And I think these riots are a great example of that, or these peaceful protests.
Yeah. They're at least mostly peaceful. I mean, like that one guy on CNN said, it's just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn.
I did not hear that quote. Please say it one more time.
It's just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn. And he said that before Trump National Guard got there. It was before that. He was like, if he brings it in, it's going to turn into more than that. And it's like, bro,
it's already
yeah. And before that, the very first day of these, before the riots even started, just a couple of people trying to stop ICE, throwing rocks and concrete blocks at them and stuff. I mean, it started off as violence.
And we still hear about January 6th. And again, I told everybody at the start when we did the show, a riot's a riot. I don't agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm one of those people because of how our government was founded. And it's in our Declaration of Independence, funny enough, we have the right to secede from a government. Heck, the founding fathers did it.
Yep.
But if you're starting your argument with, let's go flip a car or hit a police officer, maybe, just maybe, you're starting off on the wrong foot. Because, again, we're a place where you can protest. If they wanted to do a protest, that's more than their right. Go do a protest.
You want to wave the Mexican flag, wave it.
Yeah, I don't care. I'm one of those people that's like, yeah, we're all Americans, but we all have our different cultures. You can fly that flag. I don't care.
But don't burn mine.
But don't burn mine. You know, how would you like it if I went over there and burned the Mexican flag? You probably wouldn't like it. And you would probably hit me. And I
would probably go to jail.
I would definitely go to jail. Because that's just not who we are. If you have disputes, let's settle it. Like, this is going to piss some liberals off. Settle it like a man. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's get through our disagreements. It is a darn shame that we've gotten so violent so quickly in this country.
Liberals used to say if you disagree, it's your free speech. But now, if you disagree, they're going to throw something at you or hit you and burn your car, key your Tesla.
Beat you with a stick at this point.
Yeah.
It is crazy. And I just cannot believe we're in riot season again. 2020 was an awful year. And a year that will go down to me is probably one of the angriest I've been at the world. I just turned 21 and seeing the riots happening, seeing as a historian the attacks on history, seeing what happened with Trump, I lost a lot of faith in the world in 2020. And it's been a slow buildup of getting that back, being like, okay, well, there still is people out there fighting a good fight, trying to get this country back on track as a whole. And I hate to say it, but if more liberals lived by the same mindset as a conservative of, I don't care what you do in California, as long as you don't California my Mississippi.
Yeah.
And I honestly think Gavin Newsom should be impeached for not protecting his citizens.
Right. Did you see? All right, so some actor, I think it was James Woods, he posted a picture of 2020 on accident. He didn't know it was from 2020. He's old. But he posted a picture of them burning cars and stuff in 2020 in LA. And Gavin Newsom responded by saying, that wasn't even this year, but nice try. Someone commented, said, oh, Gavin Newsom wants you to know that this wasn't from 2025, but this was when he let it burn in 2022. Like, he just owned himself.
He did. That's one of the best setups in history. Like, he could have taken multiple approaches. Like, well, I don't even know how you defend yourself letting a riot happen and sit on your hands. Because I told someone this. I'm at a conflict of interest because I don't know if I agree with the president being able to send the National Guard into a state. States should be able to do that themselves. But then again, Gavin Newsom isn't doing anything. So if the person that's supposed to be protecting them isn't protecting them, what would a sitting president do? And for me, that would be the hardest choice of my presidency right there. Yeah. Do I break my own rules or do I save these people? Because this is just a travesty. It got way out of hand. The the first day this all happened, the first time the cars were being flipped and on fire, Galvin should have gotten the National Guard together and said, this is not what we do here in California. You are more than welcome to protest peacefully. You are more than welcome to show your pride in your heritage. I'm big into that. Do that. Or, numerous things he could have done. Didn't do a single thing and let his people get hurt, robbed, loss of property, torched, lives ruined. I don't know if has there been any deaths that have come out of this riots yet?
There have not been.
I'm
Not
sure.
yet.
If it's anything like 2020, there will be soon.
Right. I mean, we're just getting started. I mean, they got protests set up all around the country this Saturday, but I want to say this about the president using National Guard and stuff. So this is mainly for the liberals, but it's like an overall history lesson anyway. So Abraham Lincoln, he did it. Which now that was for a different reason, and we can debate whether he was supposed to or not, right? The War of Northern Aggression versus whatever, So it goes past that though. Teddy Roosevelt, LBJ Kennedy, H.W. Bush, Washington. Yeah, I forgot about that one. H.W. Bush, Obama. I mean, this isn't unprecedented. It's the way you do it. So usually it's been done under Title 32. Don't know what that is, I'll be honest. But Title 10 says that any time that, it's people from a foreign area, people are impeding on federal agents who are trying to stop foreigners or whatever, what we classify or Trump classifies as an invasion. Falls under Title 10 because they're trying to stop federal agents from stopping the invasion. So therefore, he was able to, without the governor's consent, go ahead and bring in the Guard. And then he did the Marines.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been telling people all week, as a historian and as my political beliefs, I'm split, but don't let it get confusing. I'm happy he did it. I talked about a second ago, if I was in his shoes, oh my gosh, I don't know what I would do.
Right.
I'm so split, but again, we talked about the people who have done it before him. Great men are in that category. We've talked about Washington. Ones that I have studied a lot and definitely don't agree with. But, it's interesting. But I just don't see it, in my opinion as well. If the governor ain't even trying, then whose job is it? And that's something that's really not addressed, in my opinion. If the government or the state level at this point, and I think I've described how I feel about the state and national level. I think the state outranks the national on most cases, but this is kind of one of those gray areas. If the state's not doing anything, well, is it the federal government's job or not? But I don't know necessarily if this is ever going to be looked upon negatively by Republicans simply because of the carnage that was happening. It was like a third world country in LA.
Yeah.
And you had people leaving left and right, not knowing what to make of the situation.
And it's over deportations, which is hilarious because Obama's nickname was Deporter in Chief, which is even funnier when you think about the fact that Bill Clinton deported more people than Obama.
Yeah.
And then it's even funnier they're acting like this when Trump has deported, including his first term up to now, barely 2 million. Obama was 5 million, Bill Clinton was 9 million. So, what's the big deal?
To all the liberals out there, I hope Trump beats that 9 million record.
Same.
And that's going to piss people off. But
well, I think I should say this when it comes to that, because I just got my TikTok comment removed earlier for saying deport them all. And I said that because yesterday a story came out that an illegal alien shot and killed a Marine who was, he's not active duty now, but you're always a Marine.
Yeah.
So I was like, just deport them all. You know, I don't care how many are here. I know there's more than 1 million in LA. Deport them all.
It makes sense. But it's just a sad state that we've gotten to here in this country. I honestly still can't believe that this was happening again. Like 2020, you kind of almost hope it was an isolated incident.
Yeah.
And because I mean, when January 6th happened again, I spoke out against it. But the liberals treated it like it was a second 9/11. And
They
I'm
did.
like, okay, we're going to ignore everything that happened in 2020 because that was an atrocity in my mind.
More than 30 died in multiple different cities, $2 billion worth of, with a B in damages, and one person on January 6th who was a unarmed protester.
Yep. And I got a whole episode on that we might even revisit because of these things. But I've been keeping up with it sparingly. As I said, normally I would have had a lot of research done before we filmed an episode, but this was kind of a last minute thing for both of us. But it's crazy how as soon as a riot happens and it's a left, it's mostly peaceful.
Right.
Happens on the right, again, not agreeing with either. It's a massive terrorist attack.
It's just the amount of double standard that they, put in their own minds just to feel morally better.
Oh, they're the party of we're superior than you.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. They were like that during slavery and all that too.
Yeah.
But just the violence, man. I don't understand why they keep going back to this, and the people that still support them, you see them on social media and they're like, no looting has happened. I've watched it happen.
That's like seeing the fire behind a news reporter. It's been a peaceful day here in LA. This protest about deportation, just burning flags behind them, car flipped over, police officers bleeding. It's perfectly fine here in LA. No need to be alarmed. And that's honestly how this party acts. All their leaders, too, are just blind to it. They act like nothing wrong has happened. And I don't understand that defense.
I don't either.
Again,
Did you see Maxine Waters?
What'd you say?
You see Maxine Waters?
I have not.
She went when the National Guard first got there, and she was out in the streets for like 30 minutes. And she goes on press conference the next day after they found $3 million worth of cars burned. And she was like, I was on the streets. There was no violence. There was no rioting. It's like, ma'am, you were at 9 a.m. for 30 minutes. We just know they're lying.
I just don't understand how more Americans don't see through it. Like the amount of people that got pissed on January 6th and how the Republican Party, hell, Trump, don't do it, guys. We're falling into their trap. Don't do it. They're encouraging a riot. They want it. They need it. They know they have to have it. And then you got a dead-gum liberal like Gavin Newsom being like, oh, everything's fine here in California. No need to get involved.
Right.
It blows my mind.
No, they really just go to extreme lengths to make it sound like nothing's going on. And even the media, the coverage they do show and the things they say, it's all manipulative, and everything they're doing is to destroy America. I mean, why do you think they keep talking about letting illegals in to give them voting rights so they never lose an election again, while that party also burns the American flag?
If that doesn't sum up the left, I don't know what does. But we actually went a bit longer than I thought we were. It's about 6:08, so I think me and Graves both need to get out of here.
Yeah.
But I do want to thank everybody. Please go support us on conservativecolonel.com. We're on our main platform is Spreaker, but we're also on Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music and Audible, Cashbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Listen Notes, and Good Pods. Please go on all these and share out our episodes and leave us a 5-star review. We also have a video format on the show released hopefully every Wednesday on YouTube. But it is time to say goodbye for now, and we'll hopefully see y'all next week for the 50th episode of the Conservative Colonel Podcast.
It's time to celebrate.
Time to celebrate. Big 5-0 for us. But I guess the only way to end it is God bless America and God bless Mississippi.